Welcome everyone. Today Faker locked in Akali versus Genji Chovy on the Rift. And it was an absolute banger game. One thing that absolutely stood out to me was how he exceeded in his skirmishing. And for a lot of Akali players, this is such an important part of the champion's identity. Because that's really what Akali does best, right? Akali's a fighter. She's really good at killing people. And in these skirmishes, that's where you got your best chance at killing people. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna be breaking down Faker's Akali's skirmishing. We're gonna be taking a look at all the big points in this game, and we're gonna be taking a look at how does he play these skirmishes. What can we learn from it? What is the stuff that he does well? What is the stuff that he can improve upon? So let's just dissect all of the big fights one by one. We've got this beautiful timeline on the bottom that we can just simply use to navigate ourselves through the skirmishes. And we're going to be starting off with this group fight coming up right here. Few things to note, right? Overall, game state's pretty even. I reckon that it is slightly favored towards... honestly, I reckon that it's potentially slightly favored towards Genji here, if I'm not mistaken. Carry is a little bit stronger. It's just generally really even. Levels are rather even. Genji pace is slightly higher level. Both top laners have fought, and Keen's got TP. Zeus does not really have TP. So I reckon the fight's incredibly favored for Genji at this point. So let's take a look at how it plays out. Zeus does insta reset, and it seems like T1 has got the position right here, and Genji is collapsing. The only thing that we recognize is that Chovy, actually, that's one thing I missed. Chovy does not have teleport, while Faker does have teleport. So this is a big point, because Chovy is not going to be able to participate in this skirmish while it's already exploding. So lots happening. We're going to be focusing upon Faker right here. We see that there's a very quick pickup, and overall pretty decent ability usage by Faker right here, picking up the Jack. So we're just going to be taking a look at how Akali plays it. Akali's TP's in. We're going to slow it down a little bit. R1 onto the rel. Does not waste E onto the rel. What you see a lot is that people will waste E on the rel or the W. A lot of the less experienced Akali players are usually ones that will rush their abilities, especially the E and the W. In this case, Faker did a fantastic job with his E and the W, and allows him to also pick up Keen upon the backhand. Fantastic skirmish. Let's continue. We got another bit on the timeline. In this case, we do not have teleport up onto Faker. One of the things that you see in general in these particular games is that the games are a little bit slower. This game was actually quite fast and very chaotic compared to all of the other ones. He just used his rocket belt to wave clear, so we don't have rocket belt up right now. And it seems there's going to be a little bit of a skirmish onto this tier 2 turret. Faker plays very slowly here, keeps his ult. And still, he keeps his ult. Now he only uses his ult to finish up the Jax, which was really good. And then he does an E into R2 out. Not a crazy skirmish right here. One thing that you see is that Faker is very poised with his ability usage. Very poised with his ability usage. The real big skirmishes are going to be coming up right now. We got a few big ones on the line. So initially, we see that there's a little bit of play happening onto the hands here. He gets caught off guard. The E is a little bit mistimed, miscommunicated with the Gragas, but they get the kill onto the rel, and unfortunately he doesn't get the recall cancel onto pace. But there is the rest of the skirmish breaking out right here. Really good E usage. Love the patience and the guaranteed on that E usage, which then allows him to continue the skirmish and finish the rest off together with his team. So this was a very interesting one, because right here, what I think is E, there was a little bit miscommunicated with the Gragas, and he tries to cancel. Pace. I think what's faster is actually flash Q. Let's see if it was up for Faker, if he could actually flash Q pace right here to cancel his reset. He may not have had the energy. Yeah, he had the energy. Maybe he only saw him late. I think a flash Q would have potentially cancelled it, because I'm pretty sure that's faster. Anyway, use the R2 to chase, and he Qs to slow the Nocturne, which is really solid. That allows Owner to come in. We got beautiful CC chain with owner. Nicely at the end, he uses the E to follow up on Kenya right here. And it allows him to get 2 kills in this particular skirmish. So far, his skirmish execution has been very, very solid. One of the main things that we spotted in this particular game, though, is that T1's macro was actually kind of impressive in this one. I think they kind of out-macroed the macro gods on Genji. So we got some more big fights happening right here into the enemy jungle. We see that there's a lot of ultimates used. We're going to be slowing the fights down. Chovy uses her ult. We said Renata gets low. So Faker ults in to finish off the Nocturne. This was a massive. Let's go a little bit back. What Faker does is he ults in to finish off the Nocturne. So Renata actually lives in this skirmish because of her bailout right here. She's dying, and killing this Nocturne makes Renata survive. He utilizes Shroud really early. Lands a pretty guaranteed E. Slows it down with the R. Really a lot of patience with the R2. More patience with the R2. Grabs the passive, then R2s over the Jax. Very solid skirmish once again. I like the display. I like the placement of his W. The placement of his W here in this choke is very problematic for Genji, that is, because if they have this Shroud right here, this puts so much pressure onto Pace. Pace cannot really walk closer. Pace cannot really hit the important targets here on Gumayushi, mainly because he does not know exactly where Akali is. Because the Shroud basically means that Faker can be anywhere right here. And if he's right here on these wards, Ezreal's got to be very careful that he doesn't get one-shot in this particular case. So this was very good. I love the E as well onto the CC chain, which allows him to get a lot of damage, chunk the rel, and then he eventually goes back in together with the multi-thread of the Gragas. So he plays it rather slow, very decent execution. We got some more stuff happening right here. This was another little bit of a interesting skirmish here in the river. And what we spotted was that this was a 1-for-1 because Chovy actually gets a very decent teleport up on the flank. And picks off Gumayushi. Faker plays it really slow again. Doesn't really overcommit. Because he recognizes he cannot really walk through that choke because Ezreal's hitting with 2 items, right? So you're going to get completely wiped as Akali. So he played it very slow right here. And he still plays it really slow. I like what he does here. Very slow, very controlled. And the main reason why he doesn't dash is because his team doesn't have any multi-thread available. So if he would be dashing in right now, that would be basically a big chance of getting killed. Let's take a look what happens right here. This is a very impressive skirmish. I think his W is a little bit rushed. If he still has W up, he can W, for example, in the choke point right there. But that's a brutal call to make. I don't think it would have changed much. Let's go a little bit back. So this was a pretty creative play from Genji. Sitting in his bush. But it seems like Faker and T1 actually sniffed them out here. They completely sniffed them out. Really good reaction upon the charm. And it's a wild that he then hits the E as well onto Lehans, which is a little bit unfortunate for Lehans, but really good. I understand why he shrouds right here, because I think he lacks a little bit of vision besides that point, and it makes his shrouding a little bit safer for him. Let's take a look at what exactly Faker sees at this particular point. Yeah, he lacks vision. So I now understand his shroud wasn't rushed. His shroud was for safety reasons, because he doesn't have any vision of what's happening behind here. So it's not bad at all. And they utilize the multi-thread beautifully, going in and out, never being in a position where they're vulnerable to eventually get up that kill. We got some more skirmishes happening right here at the end of the game. And let's take a look here. This was a quite interesting one as well. Very poised, very patient. Uses RE onto Chovy. Then R's over with a W. Honestly, very chaotic ability usage. Kind of looks like it's Pace really carrying that one. Faker didn't do much in this fight. Let's go a little bit back here. I think they're just so far ahead that it doesn't really matter. So we see that Chovy actually plays this really well. Base gets a little bit caught off guard. It's DP in. Faker REs, but he misses the RE. If he would have been able to get here, like with his R2 available, that would have been like devastating. But I still think his Shroud positioning is really annoying for Gen G to deal with. I think his Shroud positioning makes him like play a little bit as a disruptor and makes him create a lot of space, because even though he has no R, he does a shit ton of damage still at this point in the game. So even though he missed his RE, which would have been insane to land, in the end, he actually did a very good job coming up with the R2. He could have theoretically R2 flashed onto the Ezreal, R2 flash onto the Ezreal, and then Shroud afterwards. I think if you're really good, that's something that you can do, because the R2 flash still translates the damage going on afterwards as well. Potentially could have been a knockout on the pace. But, right, he does play it slow. And he eventually does get the job done, right? Mainly, once again, with the multi-threat of his team. So one thing that we absolutely see in this particular fight is that Faker is utilizing multi-threat incredibly well. He's never taking major risks, and he's never putting himself in a position where he can actually get killed on Akali. And I think that that's very, very inspiring, because what you see a lot of Akalis do, especially in solo queue, what I've seen a lot of my clients, is that, hey, they put themselves in positions where they're like solo, being solo. They're able to being targeted out. They die. They lose the team fight. They go in too early. Then once again, they die. They get CC'd. And this is something that is constantly on Faker's mind right here. And it's very impressive that the way that he navigates these team fights, and especially the poise and the patience that he has in these particular team fights. This game was kind of an absolute stomp from T1. I think their macro in general just better than Gen G. I also think their fighting in general was better than Gen G. Especially like this first Grubs fight was incredibly ugly from Gen G. The fact that they start this Grubs up with Chovy not having TP. There must have been some major miscommunications in this particular situation. It does kind of look like some of these players are actually playing with nerves or a little bit on tilt from Gen G. So I'm curious to see how the rest of the series is going to develop. This was a nice little analysis of Faker's Akali team fighting in this particular game. Hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to be back with more analysis from